Good morning everyone, thank you for joining me. So guys, lots happening today. One day I'm really hoping I can do a video on UFOs, but so much happening in the UK today. You know, tomorrow we've got the election, there's loads of stuff happening all over the globe. So today we're going to be talking about Russia that's starting to target the potential F-16 runways and airfields. We've got NATO summit coming up, and I think that's going to focus on more air defences to Ukraine. Guys, we have got a food shortage coming, a global food shortage. We've got a cow tax in Denmark where they're going to be taxing cows. We've got shortages of medicine right now where we are in the UK. We've got the Paris Olympics coming up, and I'm going to be talking about the threat level there and what the perceived threat is. And guys, if you have an electric car or you're thinking about an electric car, we've got some bad news for you guys, so that'll be at the end. So guys, let's just get straight into it then. So over in Ukraine, over the last 24 hours, the Russians have started to target the, they've started to target airfields and what would you call them? Hangars, anywhere that can hold aircraft of any sizable nature. Now, this is a prelude to the deployment of the F-16s that people are saying are going to be in Ukraine this month. Now, guys, consider if there's no runways in Ukraine for the F-16s to even land on in the first place, where will they fly from? You see the dilemma now. So the Russians know this, and guys, the Russians are not stupid. If people are saying, yep, these F-16s are coming, they're going to push your aircraft capability back, you're not going to be able to use your glide bombs, and that's going to give us the advantage. Russians are going to say, oh, okay, fine, we'll just bomb all your airfields before they get there. And let's not forget, Russia built a lot of these airfields, so guess what? They know exactly where they are. So that's what you're seeing now in real time. You're seeing the Russians targeting these airfields, targeting these facilities, targeting the service bays, the hangars, the infrastructure that obviously surrounds that. Guys, I've said this many, many times. I don't believe these F-16s will ever be flown from Ukraine. And if they are, it will only be in a notional context. In the United States, you've got Antony Blinken now. He's come out, cryptically might I add, and said, what's he said? He said there may be more air defense for Ukraine. So what you're seeing now, you're seeing this air war really. In fact, guys, I'm not focused. Hang on, I'm out of focus. I'm back in focus. It's because I'm moving my hands. So yeah, so you've seen Antony Blinken come out now, and he said that they're going to potentially give more air defense for Ukraine. Why this is significant is because we're seeing this air war ratchet up, and there's going to be an air war at some point really, really soon. I've said I don't want to give any dates now. I want to give everything as a start point now from when these F-16s start flying. And again, like I've just said, I think they'll be flown from Poland. But they're talking about more air defences to protect Ukraine. And guys, there isn't an answer to these glide bombs. There really isn't anything that the West has in their arsenal that can stop these glide bombs. The last 20 years, all our money and all our resources and research and development grants and all that sort of stuff, it's all gone into, light infantry tactics and capacity. So basically, Afghanistan, Iraq, they weren't heavy wars in the context that, your enemy didn't have huge tank capacity. Your enemy didn't have huge manufacturing capacity. You was fighting a very surgical campaign where you have to use, small teams of special forces like operators to go in, take out headshed, then you can do a big attack, and that sort of stuff was happening. So all the funding and all the money, that's where it's being spent into things, progressing that capacity. What we're seeing now is a war on an industrial scale. And guys, these glide bombs, there really is no answer to the glide bombs other than taking out the vehicles that launched them in the first place. So at the moment, that's kind of the chessboard is set in the sense that The glide bombs themselves, once they're released, they're pretty much unstoppable. You can't really do much to stop them. However, before they're released, if you take out that aircraft, that's how you stop the glide bomb. Okay, so how do you do that? Well, you need the F-16s to take out the aircraft before it, or at least push it back out of range before it, before it releases its payload. Okay, the Russians know this, so the Russians have taken out the Ukrainian runways, so the Ukrainians can't get the F-16s in the air to push the glide bombs back, so the glide bombs are going to keep working. Okay, what's the next option? So then we have to launch them from Poland. Okay, if we launch them from Poland and Russia attacks Poland, that is literally the definition of an Article 5 incident. And both sides know this now, so it's kind of like you've got that stalemate. Both sides understand what is at risk. The Russians had no choice. The Russians had to take out these airfields, and then they have to leave the option now. Do NATO let Ukraine fly their F-16s from their, bases? That's the situation we're in at the moment, guys, with the F-16s, with Russia, with Ukraine, and everybody knows it's coming. And anybody who doesn't really know what they're talking about. Guys, I've been saying this for quite a while as well. We have got a global food shortage coming. Remember, we don't eat the food from this year, we don't eat it from last year, we kind of eat it from the year before, because the way things, the way supply, demand, processing, it takes that long to get that on our shelves. So I'll put all these links in the description, guys, but I've got an interactive, what would you call it, an interactive platform or a resource here. It's called Global Report on Food 2024 Global Report on Food Crisis. So if you just scroll down when you look at it, and then there's an interactive map, and it talks about, and then you can click on Ukraine. Okay, so in Ukraine there are 7.3 million people in high acute food insecurity. The primary source driver is conflict and insecurity. So let's consider that Ukraine has now 7.3 million people in high food insecurity. They're going to need all the food for themselves. Let's also consider that before these conflicts started, Ukraine used to supply 10% of Europe's food. So that 10% it's kind of gone now. Europe's getting 10% less food. And it doesn't work. Once you've got a supply chain like we have at the moment that's very delicate, it doesn't work where 10% food loss means there's 10% less on the shelves. No, because everybody understands that 10% is coming. So everybody tries to hoard, everybody tries to bulk buy, everybody tries to do more stuff to sort themselves out. And that has a knock-on effect to everybody else. So the reality is now there's real food shortages in Europe. That's going to obviously have a knock-on effect to us in the UK. If you scroll down a little bit further on this map, where am I going to it, guys? Hang on. Right, hang on. The next thing that I just want to bring to you guys is, if I can find it, yeah. So, for your food trends. So here, guys, you've got Sudan, Democratic Republic of Congo, Syria, Afghanistan, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Yemen, Myanmar, and South Sudan. So you've got Sudan and South Sudan. These countries, they're all suffering food shortages because they can't grow enough themselves. So you see, there's already stress on an already stressed system. So, for these poor countries, they're just not going to get food. For the richer Western countries, the price of everything, guys, it is about to skyrocket if we've not had enough skyrocketing already with food, because there's no other way around it. It's supply and demand. Why are people going to sell things for £1 when they can get £10 for it? That's unfortunately the situation we're in. Let's not forget. Let's have also as a little chaser to that. The UK, the rain in the UK has literally stopped farmers planting pretty much anything this year. So this year's harvest is going to be absolutely terrible. And then you put all this together, and guys, we're having food shortages, we're having food price increases, and I'm telling you now, there's going to be a global famine, the likes the world's never seen. Denmark. So Denmark, guys, have now introduced a cow tax. Denmark, and I'll put the links into the description. Denmark are introducing an £80 per cow meat tax in a world first to tackle greenhouse emissions. So apparently the cows are trumping too much, and this is causing global warming or something. And the way to get around this is to put an £80 tax on each cow. So guys, who's gonna pay for this tax? These taxes are just gonna be, are gonna be rolled down and rolled down. And the reality is, your cheeseburgers, anything with beef in it now, the price is going to go up exponentially. So just think of all that stuff, guys. Your burgers from your I don't know, how do I say it? Scottish fast food restaurants, from your king of that certain thing, from everything, guys. Now the price of beef's going up, and all these other things, and everything's going to go up. So that's going to be less money in our pocket. So that's going to add to the cost of living even more. If you live in the UK, I'm switching now to the medicine shortages that we've got. If you live in the UK and you've recently been to a doctor's or and been prescribed some antibiotics or whatever, you'll understand what I'm talking about when I say this. We have something called like, I don't know, pharmacy roulette or pharmacy lottery, where you get your prescription, you go to your local pharmacy, they'll say, oh, we haven't got that. So you have to go, right, okay. Then you have to drive to another pharmacy and say, have you got this? Yeah, we've got that, but not in that size. Right, okay. So you literally have to drive around to 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 different pharmacies before you can get what you've literally just been prescribed. So it's like, in the UK, if you want, medication, it's like playing the pharmacy roulette or the pharmacy lottery. And it's just absolutely wild. So let me read quickly. Patients are being forced to play pharmacy bingo, travelling from shop to shop to find their treatments amid a rise in medicine supply shortages, experts have warned. Health leaders said that patients are being forced to ration their medicines because of supply problems. Guys, can you imagine this now in the light of a global crisis? A global crisis that I think we all know we're slowly moving towards, but there's already these shortages in medicines. Can you imagine? Just put yourself in this situation now. You've got a poorly kid, you've got a poorly partner, you're poorly yourself, and you need some sort of benign medication, a small course of antibiotics, something that in normal good times you would be able to get as quick as anything. Imagine the stress that you're going to be under. Guys, take my advice. If you have the capacity and you can do so, try and get yourself, whatever medication it is you need. So, and guys, that could be anything, but I mean, the first things I'm thinking of is antibiotics. They are like a wonder material, and they are like a life extender. But I really feel that once these conflicts start happening, and it feels like there's been no escalations, but in recent times, but don't forget, we've got the UK election and things will happen after that, and then we've got the US election and things will happen after that. I think all eyes are on the US election and what's going to happen after that. You've got Putin talking about you've got Zelensky talking about a ceasefire, peace talks. The reality is Putin is in the driving seat there. If Zelensky offers I'm going slightly off topic, guys. If Zelensky offers a peace deal or a peace script, it's not going to matter, because what we've seen in the past with the Minsk agreements, the Minsk 1, well, it was just called Minsk, and then Minsk 2, these things are just used as like a lull, so each side can get more ammunition in there and more capacity, and then they just go again. The Minsk 2 agreement was never observed. There was never a ceasefire. All that happened is when the observers, the international observers from the OSCE, when the OSCE observers drove round, they just stopped fighting in that area. So the observers didn't really see what was happening. Sure, they heard explosions, they heard gunfire, but the thing about the OSCE they had to be objective, and it was a little bit strange because all they could say is we heard gunfire, and because they can't confirm it, it was gunfire, they can't confirm where it was coming from, where it was going to, then nothing happened, and that report couldn't be substantiated. So the Minsk II peace agreement back in like 2015 or something, it never stood, it never happened, it never worked. And no peace agreement will ever work because of the situation on the ground right now. You know, so it's absolutely insane, guys, all right? Now, if you've been following this channel a while, a long time ago, I did a video before it was even cool, guys. You know, I tell you things before they're cool, and then everybody else jumps on them a couple of months after. I said I did a video. You can find it in the description or in my library or whatever it is. You know, I did a video about the Paris Olympics and the actual threat there. Now, let's just think of some things that have happened recently. There have been attacks in Russia. Now, these attacks have been, you know, you can say what you want, but I don't want to get into the, I don't want to get into the politics of the attack. I just want to say there was an attack. Those attacks were paid, well, we understand the first one was paid. We don't know the second attack. Now, I said long ago that this could be, a sign of things to come, where rather than send your best spies into a country with their tuxedos, their Aston Martins, their watches with little rappel guns off them, you know, all you need to do is pay people who are radicalized in that said country and ask them to do whatever. Now, I did my other video about, soft targets in countries, and I identified that Europe was a bigger threat than the UK because of the amount of munitions that have been given, lost, used, stolen, whatever you want to use it, in Ukraine. These munitions can be smuggled back through Europe, and because Europe has a free movements and free, has a Schengen area, and of course, smugglers know how to get past these customs, how to get past these borders. So the reality is now, in Europe, you have got potentially a load of ammunition. And remember, guys, all right, remember what I said in my other videos. I said, I think we're going to see drone attacks because you can buy these things readily available. There's the knowledge, there's the skills, there's the understanding, capacity, technical ability that's being gained in Ukraine, both on the Russian side and on the Ukrainian side, that lots of people now can build militarized drones with munitions capability in them. So let me just read quickly another article. I'm going to leave out certain keywords, guys, but you know what they mean. Chilling threat made ahead of Paris Olympics. A chilling threat has appeared on a website often used by a certain group. The post suggests the 2024 Summer Olympic Games in Paris could be a potential target. The picture was reportedly shared by operatives for the terror group, featuring the Eiffel Tower. A faceless person could be seen operating a drone, carrying a package marked gift towards it. So there you see, guys, we're already identifying the threat from these drones because anyone can buy them. You, me, we can go into the shop and I can buy a DJI, some sort of DJI drone, and you can mess about with the chips and the computer stuff inside if you know what you're doing, and you can have a system there that can take a 2 kilogram payload and it can fly it pretty much anywhere, and it becomes very difficult to defend against these sort of things. So the Paris Olympics looks like it's going to be it is a huge threat. It looks like there could be, guys, I can't believe I'm saying this, a drone incident or something. Now double that up with the amount of small arms ammunition and explosives that have been given to Ukraine. And again, these things could have been lost, stolen, sold. Anything could have happened to these to get them into mainland Europe. And these could be smuggled into the UK as well, but that's a different video. What we're talking about is the Paris Olympics, the threat, and how people are starting to talk about it now, guys. So it's just one to watch. And finally we're there. Electric cars. So it's come out now, guys. Apparently, if you live in London from December, and you have an electric car, from December you will have to pay £15 a day to use your electric car in London. Now, remember when the congestion charge came about in London? And they said, this is to stop pollution, it's to stop pollution in the city, it's to give people a better quality of life, it's to end, and they were giving statistics about, lung conditions and stuff. I didn't realise this, but there's more pollution from London Underground because you're caught in that, in that tube, I guess. You're caught in there, and there's nowhere for the harmful pollutants to go anywhere. So when the congestion charge came in, whenever it came in, there was a group that was saying, well, hey guys, listen, if this is about pollution to people and people's health, can't we do something about the underground? Because that's actually the biggest, you would want to naturally tackle the biggest threat first. Like if it was a military operation, you'd want to take out the leaders rather than the private soldiers, So anyway, it got discarded. It didn't happen. There was a congestion charge. Everybody bought electric cars, and now they're saying, well, do you know what, guys? It's not about pollution. It's about congestion. So we're going to have a £15 a day charge for electric cars now. So I think this is a thing coming for everyone. I think, it's kind of like switch and bait. They say go and buy that thing, it won't be taxed. And then once a sufficient amount of people have bought it, they tax it. I don't think electric cars are the future. I really don't see that there's enough cobalt, nickel, lithium to supply all these, to build all these cars. And what do you do with these batteries? What do you do with these cars once when they can't be, when they've passed their shelf life? It becomes very hard to dispose of these things. And all you're going to have, I think in 10 years time or something, maybe a little bit longer, we will all be driving around in hydrogen cars, and we will look back and we'll think, wow, what were we thinking with those electric cars? And it's just going to be one of those wild things, and people are going to see the scam. And but not you guys, because you guys watch my channel and I tell you what's happening weeks and months before it's going to happen. Guys, that's it. I'm going to try and drop another video later on today. I'm going to Mag to Grid.